And you know what the problem is? It is a statewide problem, and it is an emergency. And I want the people of the state to understand that. And I want them to respond to the emergency for the way it is. So today, first state in the nation is going to declare a disaster emergency on gun violence. We need a comprehensive plan of attack. We're going to have 7 steps. 1, treat gun violence as it is, which is really a public health emergency. That's what it is, and that's how we're going to treat it.
That's in the video, which is ironic.
Second, target the hot spots where the gun violence is coming from. It's not coming from every community everywhere. You can find out exactly where it's coming from, and you can target it. Third, you have to have a positive engagement with the at-risk youth. You can't just say, no, don't do it. You have to have a positive that you're applying. We have to break the cycle of the escalating violence, because you see it coming. You see 2 groups fighting, 1 shot, 2 shot, 4 shots, 10 shots. You can interrupt that progression of violence, and that's what we have to do. We have to get illegal guns off the street, and we have to get the guns out of hands of dangerous people, and we have to rebuild the police-community relationship, period. 4,000 young men, 18 to 24, across the state, responsible for 48% of the shootings. Once someone tells you that, once you know that, what do you say? Reach out to those 4,000 young men in a state of 19 million.
Good morning, YouTube. Thought I'd give you a little appetizer of Comrade Cuomo and his intentionally self-inflicted first in the nation emergency gun confiscation legislation. Because make no mistake, folks, that was probably the goal with defunding the police, catch and release of all scumbag criminals, letting them all out of prison. He knew exactly what carnage was going to start happening due to him and his fellow Democrats' socialist kumbaya ideology. But what a lot of people might not have caught from his very first statement was declaring it a national health emergency. By declaring it a health emergency, he has granted himself all the unconstitutional, dictatorial edicts that he inflicted upon us residents of New York for over a year, while he murdered over 15,000 elderly patients. Yes, he would love another lockdown. And by declaring a national health emergency, he also gives himself access to taxpayer funds to the tune of over $130 million. Now, it's being called a slush fund because virtually everything he's talking about in his 7-step program is already funded in one way or another. It's already a program named something else. So this is a 2 or 3-fold agenda. Confiscate all guns, be able to do a lockdown if he declares that gun violence is just too high a health risk in certain communities. And to have a slush fund, very likely, to funnel the cash to other socialist programs, or worse yet, if possible, to pay for his defense of the 15,000 murders and the countless sexual pervert assault charges, which we seem to have heard nothing about for quite a while. Media seems to be silent on that, don't they? So, he says that it's a statewide crisis, health emergency, but then says it's not in every community. Well, it is or it isn't. He blames the youth. The 18 to 24-year-olds have done over 40%, almost 50%, of all the gun crimes in a state of over 19 million people. But we must target everyone because of 4,000 people. Now remember, that has always been the left's mantra. Make everyone pay for the crimes of a few, because there's always an agenda. And the agenda isn't to make those committing the crimes pay. It's to make all of the law-abiding citizens pay, in quotation marks. So he'll start some outreach programs to convince the youths that gun violence is bad and crimes are bad and buying illegal guns is bad. All the while blatantly ignoring the word illegal. They don't care. Criminals don't follow the rules. So what makes you think that all of a sudden, because you've declared a health emergency, that criminals will say, oh, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. We'll stop now. It's a health emergency. Okay. He also is going to try and slide in another unconstitutional edict that gun manufacturers should be liable for crimes committed by illegal scumbags. Because, as we know, no other company is held liable. They do have liabilities for defective products. Always there has been your ability to sue for injuries or deaths as a result of a product defect and blatant ignorance of those defects. All except Big Pharma. Big Pharma can never be held liable for everything they're doing to people, if you know what I mean. Alright, so I don't think that will fly unless it's proven that there was a defect in a firearm, and then the person who's going to sue would be a lawful gun owner. Do you really think someone who purchased something illegally and then something happens as a defect is going to sue the manufacturer and give themselves up? Some really stupid people might, but no, they're not going to. So that probably won't fly. All this is a backdoor way to try and lock us all down and confiscate all the guns. 19 million plus people in the state. I would assume, based on living here, that half of us are lawful, respectful, smart gun owners. If we were the problem, you would know. So we are going to stay very focused on this, because I believe that this is also an attempted distraction from everything that's coming down as His Airness is being investigated for the murders and the sexual pervert assault charges. So for now, like, share, subscribe, comment, notification bell, and JT signing off.